That means to write the unit test cases, we have a file that is a spec.ts file is generated, and I remove that particular spec.ts file by adding skip tests. When I'm doing that, then automatically the test specification file will get removed. So that is how it is going to be. And I have added a bootstrap to my Angular application. And once if I run a command, that means open the command from the folder where the node modules folder is presented and run the command. The command is going to be npm install bootstrap --save. And at the same time, I'm going to use different icons as well so that I can use npm install bootstrap -icons --save. Once we run this command, it will download the packages from the npm and install it in the node modules folder. And if at all, if you wanted to use it, just import them into the styles.css file. This is how it is going. So, and I have shared you like all that examples to you. Hope you guys started practicing of that. I think so. If anyone has not started, please do the practice. Not only that Angular, anything, attending the sessions regularly is not only give the good knowledge, but also you're supposed to do a practice. It's very important. Okay. Now in today's session, we will start the next concept here, that is data binding in Angular. Data binding in Angular. Now, what is meant by data binding and how do we work with that particular? Generally, data binding, I can say it is a technique. It is a technique which is used to bind the data with the UI. UI stands for user interface. That means it is a technique which is used to bind the data with the UI. As I told you, most of the time, in real time, we are going to build a static pages and dynamic pages. Two different set of pages that we are going to build. One is static, another one is the dynamic. What is static? Static means for everyone, if the content is not changed, that means for every request, if the content is not changed, that is what we call it as a static. For every user, if the content is changed, then that is what we call it as a dynamic. We have two things. One is static, another one is dynamic. Static means the content would be changed, would not be changed. And the dynamic means the content will be changed based on the user request. If that is the case, how to bind that particular information, right? Am I right? How to bind that particular information, that is what our requirement. That means, let's say I have a requirement. I have an employee table on my database, where in my employee table, I have an employee number, I have an employee name, maybe let's say I have the job. So here I'll be writing 101 and the name is going to be Shrikant, and at the same time job is going to be, let's say, trainer is the one if I'm using. Now in this particular case, here this is like, the first employee record where it comes with 101 Shrikant and trainer. I can directly display that. What happened if I'm having, let's say, 101 and the second record 102 and third record 103 and fourth record 104, like that, if I'm having different records are available, then each and every time we have to get this data dynamically and we have to display within the table, right? Tell me, am I right? Tell me. We have to get that particular data and display that particular data into the UI dynamically. First time it is 101, and second time it is 102, and third time it is 103, and fourth time it is 104. And first name is going to be, let's say, Srikanth, and second time, let's say, employee 1, third time employee 2, and fourth time employee 4. That means we just have to bind the data, whatever we are getting, into the UI. UI is nothing but the HTML. That means data binding technique is mainly used to get the data and bind with the user interface. That means it is used to access the data from the data source, okay, from the data source, and display in the UI, that is the HTML. That means in the HTML page, we have to display that. And at the same time, when user modify the value from UI, then it has to be updated back to the data source. Simple terms. A data binding technique is a mechanism. It is basically a technique which is used to bind the data to the UI. That means access the data from the data source and display in the HTML. And not only that, when user modify the value from the HTML, then it has to be updated back to the data source. Now, how we can do that? Generally, if we can take, let's say, JavaScript or jQuery, we need to write lot of DOM manipulations and events. If you can take, let's say, a simple JavaScript code, you can see, I will show you JavaScript DOM manipulation. If I'll be opening, now you can see with the help of the HTML DOM, JavaScript can access and change all the elements of the HTML document. Now you can see we have the document, and in that you can see we have different things. What is DOM? DOM is a W3C standard. It is mainly used to access the elements that are available. Now if we can go to here, let's say this is how it is going to be. In this example, if you can observe that, I have get element by ID method. Now you can see I'm accessing that particular one, document.get element by ID. I'm getting the demo. Demo is this one. Dot inner HTML is equal to, you see what I have written. You can see that initially this paragraph empty, but now what I am writing here, the text from intro paragraph is element dot inner HTML, that what I have written. You can see that. That means we supposed to write the lot of code whenever if you are doing the DOM manipulations. And also we can go with the event. When user keep on here, you can see, thank you. When user click on here, click me again. When user click on that, now you can see. So in order to implement these kind of things, you can see that we have to write some logic over here. When user click on it, I'm going to apply inner HTML is equal to oops or something that we have. So to do that one, generally in JavaScript and jQuery, what we are doing, we depend on the lot of DOM manipulations and also the events and also different possibilities. But an Angular to handle these kind of thing, which will be very easy for us, either by using MVC or you can go with MVVM. Understand? That means we have two different design patterns are available. By using that, we can do without writing that events also. That means Angular, or else let's say, I'll write one more point in JavaScript, or else let's say jQuery, to do the data binding, we use DOM manipulations, and also we need to write the events, etc. can be used, and it is very difficult. And it is very difficult for us. It is very difficult for us. DOM stands for Document Object Model. DOM stands for Document Object Model. And it is very difficult for us. But in Angular, to perform the data binding, we have two approaches. The first one is going to be either you can follow the MVC design pattern, where MVC stands for model, view, and the third one is going to be the controller, or else you can go with MVVM, that is something like model view, and also view model. So like that it is going to be. We have two things here. One is MVC, another one is MVVM. MVC stands for model view and controller, and MVVM stands for model view and view model. Like that it is going to be. Now, what is MVC and what is MVVM? Generally, MVC is a design pattern. Understand? MVC is a design pattern, I can say. MVC is a design pattern. Generally, what is meant by a design pattern? What is the need of it? Anyone can tell me? I hope you people heard something like Spring MVC. If you are a .NET developer, you know that ASP.NET MVC. What exactly MVC stands for and what is a design pattern? Tell me. What is a design pattern? Anyone? Spring and struts are completed. 3-tier is different. Samrat. 3-tier is different. MVC is different. Next. Very good. Give a try. The question is, what is MVC? What is design pattern? Tell me first of all. Very good, Mahesh. Next. We have JSP or we have ASP.NET to build that application. Then why should I go with the Spring MVC or ASP.NET MVC? That is my question. Tell me. Anyone? Why should I go with the Spring MVC, Struts MVC, or else maybe ASP.NET MVC? Why should I go with that? Right. Seems without knowing the importance of the design pattern, you people are learning MVC, right? My question is, what is a design pattern? I'm not asking about MVC, MVVM and all. What is a design pattern? Okay. I'll explain you practically how design patterns are implemented. I will tell you. First of all, let's say I developed an application that is Facebook. Just assume that, not the developer of the Facebook, but just assume that I have a Facebook application. Maybe initially I started that with the help of JSP and the development was done perfectly. And I have good number of customer base where the most of the people they're adopting to use Facebook. I really felt happy, fine. But I'm getting like, different feedbacks from the users or the customers who use that application. They're asking me, why don't you implement like, this feature that would be helpful? Like that, if I'm getting some sort of requirements, then what I can do based on the customers feedback, I just have to validate it. If it really gives good income, then definitely I'll do that particular modification, right? Or else I'll give that particular enhancement to my existing application or not. Tell me. I started a business. Obviously, it is a business only. When the customer base is good and customers are giving me some suggestions in the form of a feedback, then I can take that and I can provide the enhancement so that I can get more customer base, right? Suppose what happened if that particular feature is not possible to implement with the existing technology. That means somebody is asking me a feature, why don't you integrate, let's say, Reels? Okay, I hope you people know Insta Reels on FB. Suppose this is not going to be possible with the help of JSP, then what I need to do I need to rebuild the entire application one more time by adding this particular feature? Tell me. By adding this feature, do I need to rebuild that entire application? Tell me. Do I need to rebuild that entire application? The answer is no. This is the common problems that we are facing it in the real time. In examples, you can't find this one. But once if the complexity of your application is going to be increased, then you may get different problems with the existing technology. So for that reason, what I can do is on the top of the technology, I can add a design pattern. I can add a design pattern. That means what is a design pattern? A design pattern is very important, guys. Everyone should know why we need to use the design pattern. It is the real-time question. You should have an idea about that. What is a design pattern? A design pattern is a solution for commonly addressing problems with existing technologies. A design pattern is a solution for commonly addressing problem with the existing technology. That means my existing technology is not properly working. Then what I can do on the top of it, I can add my design pattern. And we have different design patterns. MVC, MVVM, singleton is available. Iterator is a design pattern. Proxy is a design pattern. Like that, we have n number of design patterns are available. In that, MVC is like, the most popular one. Now, what an MVC? MVC is a design pattern. What it will do, it is mainly used for code separation and also reusability concern. If these two are your concerns, there you can go with that. That means MVC is mainly used for what? Code separation, and also if at all, if you wanted to do like, the reusability of the code, then it is always good to have what? MVC. And MVC is available in different places, guys. I mean, MVC is used in various technologies. What are the technologies? I think like, we have in Java, we have, I guess, a Spring MVC is there, right? Spring MVC is available. Suppose, let's say you are a PHP developer And we have like, different things. I guess CodeIgniter is the one where they are using MVC. And if you are a Python developer, they have Django, Django, and also Flask is there. I think there is another one as well. And we have like, the Ruby. Ruby is a technology, Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails. And at the same time, suppose if you are a .NET developer, there you people are having ASP.NET, MVC is available. If you are a JavaScript developer, there you can go with, we have what we used in Angular and Spine, etc. Understand? That means MVC is not only related to the Angular, it's just a design pattern. We have that particular MVC with different technologies that are available in the market. I hope everyone know Java was introduced in 1990, right? And the .NET was introduced in 2002. But when the design patterns, that is MVC was there, MVC is a design pattern. It was introduced in 1970s. That means before the Java, before the .NET, we have the MVC. Understand? Mahesh, I'm not talking about Spring MVC or ASP.NET MVC, not like that. I'm talking about MVC. That means top level. The design pattern of MVC was there from 1970. Later only we have like, the Java, and later only we have the .NET, and all these are comes into the picture. Understood? Tell me. That is what a design pattern means exactly. Now what an MVC will do? MVC is majorly having three components, where M stands for modal. Modals are used, are used to represent the data. That means whenever if you wanted to store the data, there you can go with modals. Understand? Where you can do what? Modal. And the next one is going to be view is used to present the data. That means I have some data which I am getting it from my database. And how you are going to display? Maybe I can display with the help of, let's say, an unordered list, or else I want to display with some ordered list, or I want to display with the help of, let's say, data list or definition list, or else I can display maybe with the help of drop down. So like that, I have different types of requirements to display the data. Then who will take the responsibility of that? We have a view page. A view is used to present the data. A view is used to present the data. Okay. A view is used to present the data. Now, generally here, like one important interview question. In Angular, up to 13 version, we have IVY. Okay, IVY view engine was there. IVY view engine was there. But now from 14 and 15, we have Babel, BABEL. Babel is the view engine. That means Babel is mainly used for what? Generating the, I guess like 13 onwards, might be. I guess 13 also, we have IVY only. But like, after that onwards, we have the Babel. Babel is available. Babel is the view engine. And the next part is going to be the controller. Now, what a controller will do? Controller is used, understand, to define the application specific logic. Application specific logic and it is also used to handle the incoming requests, and it is also used to handle the incoming request. Whenever if you wanted to handle the incoming request, there you can use it. Understand? That means generally like what a controller will do is it will fetch the data from the data source and share it to the UI and identify the changes in the UI and update it in the model. Understand? Update it in the model. That is how it is going to. Now, by using MVC, we have two types of binding. Using MVC, we have two ways to do the data binding. The first one is going to be, let's say, one-way data binding. And second one is going to be, let's two-way data binding, I can say. One-way data binding is available, and the second one is going to be the two-way data binding. There are like two ways where you can do the data binding. One is one-way data binding, another one is a two-way data binding. 1 second, guys, please. I'm sorry. So that means by using MVC, we can do it in two ways. One is one-way binding, another one is two-way data binding. One-way data binding is nothing but what? It is the process of getting the data from model and binding with UI. That means it is one direction only. Whatever the data we are having it in the model is nothing but don't think that that is a separate layer where you can store the data. That is what we call it as a model, guys. That means generally we store the data in a variable. If it is a single data, we store it in a variable. If it is a collection data, we can store it in the array. If it is the data, there you can go with the JSON like that. That means wherever you have the data, that is what we call it as a model. Now, whenever if a variable is having the data and that data we wanted to bind it with the help of UI, there you can use a one-way data binding. And how do we do that one? To do this one, we have three approaches. The first one is going to be interpolation syntax. Interpolation syntax is available. Now, what is interpolation? So far, we have done that only. Now you can see interpolation is something like by using two curly brackets if we can use in order to display the data. And second one is going to be, we have property binding is available. Now property binding is something like we can do with the help of, simply square bracket. And the third one is going to be, we have the attribute binding is available. We have a slight difference between these two. I'll explain you in practical how we can do that. That means the today's complete agenda is going to be what? We just wanted to know how do we work with interpolation syntax and then following with the property binding and then following with the attribute binding. Now I'm going to create a application here. Let's see. I'll go to my D drive where I'm having full stack Angular, where I have Angular example. I'll go with that Angular example. Let me open my command prompt. And then I'll use code space dot that what I can say. Okay, code space dot that what I can do. Now I'm going to close everything. Let's close all the files that I have opened. Now go to the components folder. And here I'll be creating a new component. So how do we create it? As I told you, again, I'm repeating, guys. See this. Right click on it. And then that means from which folder you wanted to create. There you can right click on it and then open in integrated terminal. Open in integrated terminal. Now here, what I just want to do, I'll be writing something like ng g for generate. But you see, before that, we have to change the command prompt from PowerShell to what? Normal node command prompt, so that I can use CMD. First, you can use the CMD here. And then now you can write ng g for generate. And what you wanted to generate? I just wanted to generate the component. Now, what component you wanted to have? Maybe I can say the name of the component is going to be product component I can give. Understand what I'm doing? ng, g for generate, c for the component, and the name of the component is product component. And also I can give hyphen skip hyphen test I can say. Just click on OK. Now you can see what happened. That's it. Now a product component is created here. You can see that. I have a product component. I'm sorry. Inside the components folder, if you can go, we have a component with a name. Product component is available. Understand? Product component is available. Now what I want to do, what I just want to do, maybe I can go with my TS file and here I'll create a simple, understand, a simple product over there, product information. So how we can do that? Public, I'm using product is equal to public, I'm using what? Product is equal to what I want to do. I want to display the, I want to get that product information. So how we can do that? You can see that. You can see that first one, maybe I can say product ID where I can give 10 and at the same time product name I can give. Maybe you can give, let's say Netflix or something I can say, and is available. I'll be giving true or false. And the last one is going to be image URL. And where it is available under the assets folder. And where we are having, I guess I have an image here. Somewhere you can see we have an assets and there we have the Netflix.jpg is there, so that I can use it. Netflix.jpg. Now here product is basically what? It is a simple JSON object. It is a simple JSON object. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. What is JSON stands for? JavaScript Object Notation. Now what it contain? It contain 4 fields. First one is the product ID. Second one is the product name. Third one is going to be is available. And fourth one is going to be image URL. Understood? Now my requirement is going to be, I wanted to display this particular data in my HTML. Now here, this is what we call it as a model. That means model is having the data and component TS file is nothing but a controller generally. And by using this controller, we just wanted to share the data to the HTML. That is what my requirement. That means I just wanted to share this data to the HTML. So how I can do that one? Simply, I can say a simple H1 tag, product information that what I am using. I can give a HR tag and then let's say data list, and data term is going to be, first one is going to be the product ID. How we can get it? How we can get it? I have the product ID here, right? And directly if I'm using the product ID, then we are getting an error. You can see that. If I'll be using the product ID, there you can see the property product ID does not exist on the type product component. That means it is not available. Do you mean, is it available on the product? Yes, it is available on this variable, right? So that what I can do, I'll copy this and then giving it over here. You can see that. Understood. Now here what I'm doing, whatever the product ID we are having here, I'm going to get that product ID and giving it to my HTML. This is what we call it as data binding. Now here, whatever the syntax I'm using here, this is what we call it as interpolation. Understand? Interpolation. Now what is meant by interpolation? Interpolation is the process of what? Getting the data from the component file and binding with the UI with the help of curly brackets. Now the second one is what? I'll be using a definition term. Maybe I can say product name, and where I can have a DD, and here I'll be writing something like product dot. You can see whatever the product name we are having, we can give it over there. Understood? Understood? Tell me. Mahendra Reddy, every time if I'm using small variables, if you said okay, then I can go with that only. But in real time, we never create like, the small examples, right? We will be using JSON, arrays of JSON, complex data we are using. Slowly, I'm trying to adapting you people to work like a real time guys. If I go with like, 4 variables, then not an issue for me. Okay. If I'm taking a new example, mean that is completely related to the real time. Slowly, like I'm changing it to real time application development. Okay. That is where I use the JSON here. Right. Now the third one is going to be, I'll take a DT is available, is stock available, or else like, let's say stock availability. I have a DD. Now what I can do here, I'm going to display that particular stock. So how we can do that? Maybe I'll take an input type as going to be the checkbox. Let's say input type is going to be, I'm using checkbox. Understand? I'm using checkbox, that what I can say. And then based upon the value that I wanted to check, so that I can go with checked is equal to. Now you can see based on what? Product dot, you can see is available is there. You can see that I'm having is available. I'll just give that particular. That means If it is going to be true, that will be checked. If it is going to be false, that is unchecked. Understood? I'm not doing anything. That means here I am displaying directly, but here this is an input element and I'm creating it as a checkbox. And then I have a property with the name checked property. Basically, it's a Boolean property. And this property, based on the true and false value, it will check or uncheck. That is how it works. And the last one is going to be, I'll have a DT. There I can have an image. Okay, the definition term is nothing but it's an image that what I can give. And here I'm going to get that particular image. So how we can do that? I'll have a DD and where I can have an image tag. Now image SRC is equal to, image SRC is equal to, from where it is going to be, I have the URL here into this property so that I can take it and then product dot image URL. Did you understand? Tell me what I have done. That means I'm getting the data from the component and then binding with the help of interpolation syntax. Now that interpolation, we can use it in different ways. Either you can directly display the data or else you can see for the attributes, you can give that particular value also. And here also image SRC is available. There also we can give it over there. Understand? We have different options where you can give the data to that particular one. Okay. Now you can see, let me run my application. And before that, I just wanted to give some height and width as well. Let's say height is going to be somewhere around 200 pixel. And also width is also going to be 200 pixel because it's a background image. Might be take a complete page. So just like, for that reason, I'm having like this. Now I wanted to run this component. How do we do that one? What are the steps has to be followed? How to run this? Tell me. Now my component is ready. Then what is the next step? What is the next step? We have to register the component. We have to register the component. So how to register the component? Very good. I'll go to my module and where I can register it. I'm having product component which was registered. And then the next step is going to be, we have to bootstrap it. And at the same time, whatever the selector we have, I'll select that and then giving it in the index.html. We will be giving it in the index.html. Now you can run that application. So how we can do that? ng serve. Okay, otherwise ngs -- project is equal to components demo that what I can give. And it might take a minute to compile and ready. Now you can see. Still we have an error. Now you can see, am I able to see that output here? Everything good. We have like, the compilation is also succeeded. Right. But you can see we are unable to see an output. Why? But how we identify? For that reason, most of the people they are asking me, Shrikant, how do we debug? Simply right click on here and go to the inspect, and there you can see we have two errors. We have two errors. Open the console, we have two errors. Now you can see what would be that error here. The selector product did not match any element. That means we have a problem here somewhere. App-product is available. Okay. Correct only, right? It's app-product only. The selector name is what? App-product only. Let me copy and then giving it over here. Done. This is the one. And then app module. I have the product component. Let us copy and give it over there. Save this application once. And then let's come back to here and then refresh it once again. Strange issue. The selector product in main.ts. Let's do one thing. Oh, do we have the previous product component? Very good, guys. I forgot then. Do we have the product? Nice, nice, nice. Okay, okay. Right. So what we have to do here is okay, I'm using product one. Okay. I haven't seen that we have already created a component with the name product. Let's do one thing. I'll give it as product one. Okay. This product one also, I'll be using it in here. Import product component. Perfect. Now you can see we have the product ID as 10. Maybe one thing that what I can do here is let's go to this and close it and product component HTML. I'm going to take everything and I'll take a div where I can use container fluid, I can say, because anyhow we have the bootstrap. So that is where I'm using it. And now you can see we have it. Product ID as 10, name is Netflix, and the availability is going to be, we have it was checked. See this. By default, it gets checked. Now you can see we have the image that we are having. Now what I want to do, I'm going to change the values here. Maybe let's say I'll be using product ID as 20 and where I can say maybe Prime Video that what I can give and the availability is going to be, let's say false, and I'm using the same image. Now you see that time when user changes the model or else model is changed, then automatically is it updated here or not? See there? Yes or no? Hello? Right? It is getting updated. It is getting updated. So that is how it is going to be. That means Interpolation syntax is mainly used for what? Getting the data from here and binding within the HTML. That is how it is going to be. But here we have an issue. What is that issue here? You can see I'm taking an input element where I have used for checked, I'm using interpolation. And for SRC, you can see I use that interpolation syntax. I use the interpolation syntax. Generally, here what we are doing for this, if my requirement is directly I'm going to bind the data, then go with interpolation. But I have a requirement. The requirement is going to be whenever if you wanted to give a value to the property of the HTML, understand? Here it is going to be direct binding. I'm directly displaying it in the DD HTML. But now what I'm doing here, I'm doing what here? For this particular property, I'm assigning a value. In this case, interpolation syntax is not good. Understand? Here, interpolation, I can say interpolation is not good practice. I can say that it is not a good practice. Then Srikanth, what to do next? To do that one, what we are going to do, we use property binding. Now, what is interpolation? What is interpolation? Tell me. Interpolation, it is used the data binding expression, the data binding expression like this one. Okay, interpolation or data binding expression, anything. It is used to bind the direct data to the HTML tags. That means directly to the HTML tags. If you wanted to bind the data, this is going to be used. Understand? Directly you can use it. But if we wanted to bind it to the properties of the HTML, then it is not a good programming practice. Good programming practice. That means whenever if you people wants to bind it to the attributes, then it is not a good programming practice. Understand? Then it is not a good programming practice. Then how we can use it? There you can go with the property binding. So how we can use the property binding here? How we can use the property binding? By using a square brackets. By using square bracket. Now here I will write some points here. We can access any HTML element property by using property binding and assign the value dynamically. And we are going to assign the value dynamically. So how do we do that one? So to do that one, in this example only, what I can do, I'm using a square bracket, and then you can see I'm removing this one. I'm removing this one as well. Now see here, I'll come back to my application execution. Now, if you can see in the previous case, what I have given, I'm giving it as false, right? Generally, if I'm giving true and then save that application, now you can see it is selected, right? Is it selected or not? Tell me. It is selected. Suppose if I'm going to change it to false and I'm changing like, the product ID is going to be 30. Now tell me, is it updated? Is it updated? Have you verified this? Tell me. Aina Hari, Paksu. You see, normally it is updated, but the checkbox is not updated here. So as this is not updated because interpolation syntax is not used in this case. So for that reason, what I can do, I'll be using this one and then remove this particular one. Simply, I can remove this. Now save it. Now this time you can see when I'm having the false value, then automatically it is not going to be selected. When I'm using, let's say, true value and save it, now you can see it is getting selected. Understood? Tell me, property binding. Is it clear when it is given? Right? So that is so. And in the same way, here also you can see that we have an image URL. I can use that image URL like this, or else I can go with something like this, and then I can use. That means few properties are not available. Few properties are not available, so that it is going to. So like that, it is going to be interpolation syntax and then property binding. And I'll just upload like, these two for today. Maybe you can try with another example. I will give you some assignments also. Just a minute. Now let me upload it. Right. Now here I'm explaining one more time, guys. See there. So interpolation syntax means what? Whatever the data we are having, we can get the data directly from here and then display within here. Understand? And we can display directly. Is it clear, Abhishek? Tell me. Is it clear? Hello. Abhishek, is it clear? Tell me. Right? Okay. Now, when do we go for the attribute binding here? Attribute binding means now here I'm directly displaying the data in the DD. But here what I'm doing, I'm applying a value to the checked property of the HTML, right? I have a checked property, and for that particular checked property, what I am doing, I'm applying a value which is available on this particular is available. That is like true and false value. I'm not going to give a direct value which will be displayed like that. Rather, what I'm doing, I'm applying a value to this particular checked property. At that particular moment, it is always good practice. It is always good practice to go with attribute binding. Just what you can do to that particular HTML attribute, give a square bracket. Understood now? Now for you, what you can do is take the student information. Okay. Take the student information and calculate like, the marks. If the marks is going to be, let's say, greater than, find that average. And if the marks are going to be, let's say, greater than 35 or else something, then display the result as passer, else display the result as going to be fail. That means what you have to do, create however you want to do, you can do that. Just it's a simple assignment, guys. What you need to do is just you have to store like, some values. Let's say 35 marks 1 and 56 and 78 and calculate the total and find the average. And based on that, result has to be either it is going to be pass or you can display fail, anything. However, like you wanted to store this data, that you can try. That's your wish. Any way that you can use, it's not a big deal. So do that assignment for tomorrow. And that's it for today. And we will continue the same concept even tomorrow also. And then we'll see different things. Okay, hold that. That's it, guys, for the day. We will continue tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.